Them and maybe Virginia, when the season ended, they looked like the two best teams. They took care of business throughout the tournament. They really
they gave Michigan the business.
They really did, and the game was, after about 5 minutes, it was really trouble for Wolverines.
They got up early, and then it seemed like Villanova chipped away. And then when they got up in the second half, they really started to keep the distance between both teams.
Yeah, well, they're a great shooting team, Villanova, obviously, and they Reggie and I were just talking about, they had 28 threes in the two Final Four games.
Right.
And how you gonna defend that when they're hitting like that? How you gonna defend that?
Well, here's why they're so difficult to stop. Now let's think about this. You have 6 NCAA tournament games, right? For them, they had 4 different leading scorers. Okay, none of which was the big guy, Amari Spellman. He gave them on average 12 points, 9 rebounds, almost 2 blocks, and he shot 40% from 3. So you know what the guards do. You know what the big guy does inside, but then he can step out and shoot it with range as well. You put all those pieces together with the fact that if you look at them as a team, Jalen Brunson stands at 6'3". He's their smallest starter. Amari Spellman's about 6'9", the biggest starter. They switch everything. So they're very hard to penetrate against when they're on the defensive end of the floor. But what's most impressive about this basketball team, they can play at multiple paces. You know, when you look at some of the games they had, they're up in the 90s in the tournament. Then they're winning games in the high 60s, low 70s. That's why I thought before the tournament this team was the best team, because they can, again, we talked about Virginia, right? They play at such a slow pace. If they fall behind, they can't come back. They don't take easy baskets to get themselves out of droughts. Villanova does all of those things well, and then they stroke the 3.
Well, Villanova, they like to play at the up pace tempo. That's their preference.
Yes.
They led the nation in scoring this year, which is something I think the last team to do that and win the title was, I believe, North Carolina in 2005.
That was 05, yeah.
So that's their thing. They're such a good shooting team that you get those points. You can get up and down. But you're right, Reggie. They defend just as well as anybody else. I think their last 7 games, the NCAA tournament and the Big East championship, they held their opponents to 26% shooting from 3.
How about that?
When you're shooting the way Villanova is and you're defending the 3 the way Villanova is, I mean, it's I won't say impossible to beat, but it's really, really difficult.
And we talked about the rim protection of Amari Spellman. How about that block by Dante DiVincenzo? Are you serious?
By the way, your guy DiVincenzo, who's this guy came off the bench.
Yes.
And he just lit up Michigan. This guy was unstoppable. And how about the AP Player of the Year? Brunson, the guy who, by the way, goes to a very difficult school in Villanova. I couldn't get in there, not that that's saying much, but a good Catholic school like Villanova, it's hard to get into. It's hard to stay there. The academic course load is very hard. And this guy graduates in 3 years. Are you kidding me? Yeah. And this guy's the Player of the Year in basketball. He's on the bench, and they got such depth they can bring guys in, and they never lost a beat.
And the scary part is the other guard that they bring in the game, Gillespie, he's a freshman. He had some injuries earlier in the season, so he missed some games for them, or else they think he'd be even further along and be able to play even more minutes. But he played some important minutes, obviously, in the NCAA championship game with Jalen Brunson on the bench with foul trouble.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Brunson. North Carolina fans are going to like this. He is the first guard to win the AP Player of the Year award and a national title in the same year since David Thompson of NC State back in the 70s, 1974.
You mean NC State fans would like that, not North Carolina. You mean the state of North Carolina.
The state of North Carolina, thank you.
You haven't ingratiated yourself to the fans of North Carolina.
You know, state of North Carolina fans.
You call yourselves the West Virginia Senior Mountaineers. You call the App State Junior Mountaineers.
That works.
You just haven't really. You kind of provoke and agitate the North Carolina and Duke people around here.
I've only been here a dozen years. Give me some time here.
Yeah, give me some time. Yeah. The other thing about this tournament that I thought was interesting, we figured out real quick that regardless of conference affiliation, and this is Loyola Chicago aside, a lot of, quote, mid-majors, they can play.
Oh, yeah.
There's some really good players. And this is, now, here's what I will say. As much as I malign the AAU concept, this is where the AAU concept has been good for basketball, particularly college basketball, because guys on teams like Loyola, UMBC, all these different schools, they've seen these guys at power conference schools at random AAU tournaments throughout the summers growing up. They're not afraid of a Marvin Bagley III. They're not afraid of Grayson Allen. They're not afraid of
Unless you
Theo
get tripped by
Pinson
Grayson
because they've
Allen.
seen him before.
Right.
And so for them, it's like, yeah, he was pretty good. Like, here's my chance to make him look bad. So I think that's the positive of the AAU concept, as we've seen all the other negativity going on with it. But that's one of the positives is that these kids don't fear anybody right now.
Did not
They'll play anybody.
Haven't you been on of the persuasion that junior, second, third, fourth year players making the difference instead of one and done all year? Villanova had some second and third year and fourth year players, kind of like a lot of these teams that advance, like Loyola. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what that backs up your point.
That helps as well, absolutely. The experience of playing together, the experience of just being in college, knowing what to expect, knowing the rigors of that, it is important. It is an important aspect when you get to tournament play. I'm not saying you can't win with one and dones because we've seen it, but if you even think about the one and dones historically, they've generally had a veteran presence on that team. People could forget about the Kentucky team that won. DeAndre Liggins and Darius Miller were the leaders of that basketball team. They weren't the most talented players, but they were the leaders. They both played on the wing, and they were big-time defensive assets to that championship team. So when you think even Duke, when they won with younger guys, they still had veteran players out there on the floor. I think Quinn Cook, wasn't he the point guard on the last Duke championship team a couple of years ago? That tells you that you've got to have some kind of steady force to keep that team going.
The other thing, too, Reggie's brought up this point throughout the tournament. He's exactly right about the one-and-dones as opposed to veterans. The development between your sophomore and junior years, your development over time in college, it's so tremendous, and it's so big. And when you have the one-and-dones, you just don't get that. And it becomes for lack of a better phrase, a crapshoot as to what you're going to get out of them once you get to the big stage like an NCAA tournament.
Is it just me, by the way, Reggie, Kevin Tolbert, is it just me or is William Wilson, who just walked in, is going to be in our next segment? See, he reminds me of that guy. Who is it on Magnum PI? TC, the guy? He looks just like the guy, a Navy guy, doesn't he?
Well, he was a Navy guy anyway.
Well, I'm just saying, it just reminds me. He looks like the guy from Magnum PI.
That does explain it.
And one more thing, just to stay on basketball for a second, Jay Wright's the next coach out of college to end up in the Hall of Fame now. I think 2 titles in 3 years.
He's not going to go to some big pro team and get a.
No, Jay Wright doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to leave there. His wife went to Villanova. It's a place that he's very comfortable. And I think the thing for him is he does it his way, and they let him do it his way. And he's got a program that's built on the development of players and growing those players. This might be the first. We don't know what's going to happen with DiVincenzo. If he does jump, it's a rarity from that program to leave like that, even after winning.
It'd be a mistake, too.
But I think it would be a mistake also. But because his stock is, quote, high. Why would your stock go that high off 2 games? That tells me NBA GMs aren't watching the total body of work. They're watching 2 games. They're idiots if they're drafting guys off of that. I'm going to just leave that right there.
All right.
But I say all that to say, if you look at this team, there's a chance that, with the exception of probably McCall Bridges, they're probably all going to be back. Eric Pascal's a fourth-year junior. Jalen Brunson, we talked about, 3-year player that's already graduated. This is a potential to be a very, very deep, really good team in 2018, 2019.
I agree.
I think Jay Wright's the best dressed college coach in America. Maybe Will could mention this. He does. I think he has the most expensive suits. I don't have the trained eye, but I think this dude's wearing like $5,000 suits out there almost every game.
On the surface, you look at, just from an outsider, you watch him, you hear him in interviews. He looks like a genuinely good guy, too.
He is.
He looks like a really nice guy. He's always respectful towards his opponent.
Yeah.
He always respectful towards his team. He just seems like a really good guy. And now with 2 titles in a 3-year stretch, he looks like the next in line for the Hall of Fame.
And his demeanor on the floor never changes, and I love that.
By the way, do we care about the women's tournament? I mean, I know that Notre Dame won, so we have 2 Catholic schools as national champions.
Yeah, we do.
But I think it was impressive to me is Notre Dame won with buzzer beaters in the semifinal. First of all, they beat Connecticut, a buzzer beater, and then they win the national title on a buzzer beater. So I think that's notable.
Well, if you're Gino Auriemma, you got to be losing your mind. 2 years in a row, you're, I believe, 36-0 both years, going into the Final Four and lose a national semifinal both years. So that's got to be tough for Gino. considering all he's accomplished. And then the other piece of it, let me say this. In terms of Vic Schaefer and Mississippi State, I feel bad for McCowan. Tierra McCowan missed a pretty easy layup late there that would have given Mississippi State a 2-point lead. They come back down the floor. They actually get a stop. They get a steal. I thought Morgan Williams got more than fouled. I thought she got borderline mugged at half court. They didn't call that. The ball goes to Notre Dame. Notre Dame, as they go back the other way, McCowan fouls out. Turned out to be a smart foul because Notre Dame had an easy layup. And then to add to it, if you go back and watch the play, the game-winning shot, great shot by Arika Ogunbowale. She traveled. Before she let that shot go, she traveled. NBA rule, they gave her 3.5 steps. I get all that. She traveled. So if you're Mississippi State and you're looking back down the stretch of that game, you realize you gave one away, especially considering missing that easy layup. But on the back end of that, you had a couple opportunities that you were unable to get the ball.
All right, without getting into what my friend Marvin Washington, former New York Jets defensive end, would say about the women's basketball, I think that's enough. The WNBA ratings back me up on that. But we're not through. We've got the Masters to talk about. Carolina Panthers are in the news. Another new owner shows up, and he's looking around. We've got NBA news. The Hornets not looking for the playoffs, but the playoffs are right around the corner. We've got that and much, much more right here on Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Edition by edition, we've got William Wilson in here with Reggie Walker, Mountaineer Mike Freer. And Will, before we get started on the Carolina Panthers, what about Jay Wright Suits? To me, he looks like he's the best-dressed guy on the sidelines in all of college basketball. What do you think? You're the most smartest guy when it comes to fashion that I know. That's right. I forgot about him. I'd like to see Coach Moten all right, I'd like to see Coach Moten move up. He's doing a great job at Central. I thought that maybe Charlotte's could have looked at him. I'm sure a lot of guys looked at him. He definitely looks good in those suits on the sidelines. Carolina Panthers have the 24th pick in the draft. Reggie, what do you think are some of the immediate needs? They lost safety. They seem to have added in their minds a receiver by giving away a starting cornerback, a big running back, and not a small guy that really doesn't do much. Maybe a center, a left guard. What do you do at 24, Reggie?
If it's me, I probably if I'm not looking at either Josh Jackson, the corner out of Iowa, or maybe Jair Alexander, who's actually a Charlotte native, out of Louisville, the corner there, which would be a little bit of a reach for Alexander. He's got more of a third-round grade, if memory serves. I'd probably trade out of the pick, come down. I think there's more value. The Panthers right now have a pick 157, which is 24, which is in the first round. They have the 55th pick in the second round. I'd see if I could find a way to get out of that first pick at 24. If I can pick up another pick in the second and get one in the fourth to go with it, I think there's a lot of value in there. Then you open yourself up to fill a lot of holes. I think at the safety position, you're looking at a kid like Ronnie Harrison if you're looking for a strong safety out of Alabama. But if you're looking for a free safety, I like Quinn Blanding or Justin Reed. Reed is out of Stanford. Quinn Blanding's out of Virginia. I think those are two guys that can really help you. And there's a chance in the second round. I'm not saying you got to move anybody along right now. There's a chance in the second round. The big tight end from Penn State, I know this sounds biased, but Gesicki could be there for you in the second round.
I was going to mention the tight end because Jeff Taylor's high on the guy in South Carolina.
Well, and he's probably a better blocker than Gesicki. I will give you that. But right now, what Cam needs is more guys he can throw the football to, especially if the offensive line is not going to play up to what they've been expecting.
I love the idea of trading down. I don't think you have to be spending time with the first round guy. Trade down, get O-line help. You never have too many O-line people.
Not to cut you off, especially with their cap issues, get out of the first round.
Get out of the first round, O-line help. You know TD is leaving at the end of this season. So get you a lot of linebacker, you bring in a TD. You have to show him and teach him the ropes. You learn how TD and Luke for years. Instead of waiting till he leaves and try to replace.
I agree.
Bring this guy in and start getting that. I believe we go for a tight end. You never have to be tight ends anyway. You get a good block tight end. Like the guy you finish.
Yeah.
You got short hands, big, and strong. Gronk kind of guys.
Very athletic.
Exactly. You can teach a tight end how to block.
Thank you, Taylor.
You can teach them how to block.
That's right.
With those guys and everything else, literally, I would never try to go get a corner or safety out of a draft. I would always try to go free agent with that avenue. Always.
I
Go
would
to
disagree.
the
Just
line.
I would use at least 3 picks on linemen, offensive
Exactly.
and defensive, in this draft period, though.
Exactly.
I think the thing about the Panthers, they're in a, for what I think down here, you mentioned trading down or whatever, and that's fine. I think they're in a pretty advantageous position because of their needs and because of what they could get at that spot. They could get somebody at the end of the first round that could really help them. I saw one mock draft that had Calvin Ridley going there. I don't know. My man Todd McShay put that out there. I don't know if he'd be around there or not. If he would be, that'd be awesome for them to get a proven wide receiver like that. My personal opinion, I think they should go defense. And honestly, I think they should do the defensive backfield, either a Justin Reed or a Blanding at the safety spot, somebody that can be productive right away.
But they got enough young guys. They keep drafting guys. Somebody going every year. We say they'd be productive right away, and they're not productive right away.
Well,
we got enough young guys already. Bring in some guys, some experience to teach these young guys you already have.
Well, they just got
play
rid
the
of some
game.
defensive backs here to get.
But
got
to
rid of
Williams'
one, didn't you?
point, I actually agree with that slightly. And here's what I mean. You're right. You have to get some more veteran-type guys, some more guys that. Part of that is not drafting 3-year college players. You go get a Quinn Blanding who's been in college for 4 years. You go get a Justin Reed who's been in college for. Those guys have been there for a while. You know what they are when they walk in the door. Mm-hmm. The problem is, oftentimes we find this, wonder king, right? Calvin Ridley's been in school 3 years. What is Calvin Ridley?
Overrated.
We don't know. That's my point. But if you watch Quinn Blanding on tape, that is the Quinn Blanding that's going to show up in the NFL.
Right.
He's going to be around the football. He's going to be a ball hawk. So to your point, I agree. You go get guys that are veterans, and I understand that. Mm-hmm. But I think also when you draft guys that are developed as much as possible instead of saying, I'm going to get this guy and develop him, and in 4 years he's going to be a Pro Bowler. No. When you're drafting in the first and second round of the NFL, if you're looking for guys that can start for you and hopefully become Pro Bowlers in their first 2 years in the league. Exactly.
And I take. If you're drafting 24th, I'd rather get rid of 24th and just take somebody early second round. Save me some money. It's not a bigger drop off in talent, but I'm not locked into a contract. I'm not forced to have to keep him, and I can do some things with it. I can get some more out of it.
And I don't know that after the year they had, and we know they've been up and down, right? Super Bowl year, barely winning season, then another playoff year. The reality is they don't have what I would call gaping holes anywhere. Exactly. On the roster, so you don't have to reach for a guy at 24 that would be there at 33, and you can get an additional pick and still get that guy.
Reggie,
that's my point.
Let me just interrupt you here for a moment. There's breaking news.
Yep.
Kyrie Irving is out for the playoffs following left knee surgery. He underwent a procedure to remove a tension wire, is what I'm reading on the scroll here. Kyrie Irving out for the playoffs following left knee surgery, underwent procedure to remove tension wire on March 24th. We'll get to that in our NBA block since there's not much to talk about anything good anyway with the Hornets. So we'll get to that in a moment. But I think that completely shakes up the East. I still think Toronto looks like the team to beat in the East.
That's why we're live, baby.
Back to your point about the Carolina Panthers. I think that a wise man once said don't draft for need. Maybe take the best guy available. Maybe if your best guy available is the tight end from Penn State or South Carolina. Maybe at 24 you do go down to like 30 or something. Maybe a team wants to move up, overpay, give you that extra second and a fourth you're talking about. I still think there are needs, but still there are some quality guys at every position. You mentioned the maybe a safety, an extra corner. I think you've just lost a starting corner in Darryl Worley, maybe a left guard, a center to restock and look to the future. You can never have enough good offensive linemen.
But how much of a drop-off is – everybody says, like you just said, we lost our starting corner. How much was the drop-off between the starting corner and the guy behind him? Really,
is that Kevon Seymour, Reggie?
Listen,
it wasn't really that big of a drop-off.
Well, here's what I'll say. While you might be right in that premise, there's a reason why a backup is a backup.
Yeah.
let's not lose sight of that. But while I understand what you're saying, there's what the drop off was. We're not sure yet.
Yeah.
Because
you can have two bad guys. One of them has to start.
Right.
So they may not necessarily have won the spot. They may sometimes just by default.
But could it be that Marty Herney consulted with Coach Rivera and the defensive staff and said, "Hey, we can afford to lose this guy because we think Kevon Seymour is really coming on." And he could be pushing Worley for a starting job anyway. So let's see if we get this guy from Philadelphia who could contribute right away. And we like who we can get. Maybe we can get an extra corner in the third or fourth round.
To be honest, here's what I think it was. I think it was also staring at whether or not they wanted to keep him around for the long term and realizing that they were going to have to decide between two corners they had and drafted in the same year, which one they're going to have to pay because their contracts were coming up at the same time.
Yep.
The thing
Math.
is, you got to remember,
Business.
Always.
comes to the Panthers and the defense, the need for defense. You're going up against Drew Brees twice a year. You're going to go up against Jameis Winston, who can only get better, you would assume, if he's developed right.
And Matt Ryan.
twice a year. You need as many defensive backs as you could get.
Mike, on your point, you're in a division that has Jameis Winston, Drew Brees, and Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Very good quarterbacks, top-level quarterbacks, if you ask me, every one of them. You got to have, first of all, your offense to protect Cam Newton. You have to have good blocking, good receivers, good running backs. Conversely, defensively, you have to have good outside linebackers, defensive ends, and corners, perimeter players who can put pressure on the quarterback and who can cover guys.
You're 100% right, but the main piece to that is this. I don't care how good you are as a starting group. You better have depth because Drew Brees is putting 4 and 5 receivers on the field. Matt Ryan is putting 3 receivers on the field and those 2 backs. You got to have 4 or 5 or 6 guys that can turn and run, and that's part of what they have to do is find the depth that they can financially that's feasible financially for them to be able to win consistently and stop those offenses.
Well, Reggie, how about this? It's kind of like the Redskins. They're paying Josh Norman the big money, but they are going to spread out. Instead of having a number 2 corner, they may have 3 or 4 nickel and dime guys because they're going to need, when other teams go 4 wide and sometimes 5 wides and they have extra slot guys come in, you're going to need sometimes 6 guys or even 7 in some formations to cover all these guys.
I'm going to break it down to you like this. Let's look at some of the great secondaries we've seen. When Deion was in Atlanta, who was the other corner? Tim McKyer. People know that name.
I love T-Mac.
T-Mac's
our guy.
Who played safety? Exactly. No one knows.
Didn't matter.
No one knows.
Brian
right.
Jordan?
Because Brian Jordan, one of those years. That's exactly right.
Richmond Spider.
Let's think about when Deion was with the 49ers. It was Deion on one side. Who was on the other side?
T-Mac.
Exactly. No one knows. No. Tim McDonald and Merton Hanks were the safeties. Nobody knew who was on the other side.
Ronnie
was before that.
Yeah, Ronnie came.
So when you start doing the math, you can really only pay 2 or 3 really good defensive backs and have a solid defense. And back then, what the 49ers were doing is they were living off of mid to late round picks in the middle of their defensive line to go along with Charles Haley, and they knew what they had in the back end. You have to find the right formula to this, and sometimes the formula is getting guys in later rounds that can play for you and creating that depth and that competition at the position group.
Right. I think the problem Panther fans have, they look at everything today, they don't look down the road. So you can formulate a team to win a year, 2, 3 years. The Patriots took some time, and now they just built a system, brought in players that work with their system, and now Bill Belichick can just plug and play. No one is
sustained winning.
Exactly, because they put together a group of guys that play their system. They can draft guys. They never need anybody because the Patriots they draft every once in a while. They'll take a first round guy. They're always trading down their first round guy, trading out. They just get bulks of people, and then if you want to get a guy, you can put a package together with 2 first rounders and this guy, or a second rounder and this guy to get somebody that you may need down the road, or that you want to develop, or just want to dump some salary cap room, whatever you want to do, because they understand the business of it. The sports is nice. If you handle the business part of it, the field will take care of itself. People keep thinking if you handle the field, then the money will take care of itself. If you take care of the business end of it and got the bulk of what you need, you can always, all throughout the season, you have collateral and you have capital that you can use to make moves all throughout the season to get better whenever you need to.
Well, first of all, T-Mac lives in Charlotte. He's a good friend of ours. We need to get him at the William Wilson Closer Classic one day. But anyway,
I hit him a few times about that. He still ain't.
All right, well, I'll have to talk about that. And we got Masters going on. Tiger Woods is on the course. We've got that NBA discussion coming up and right down the line here on Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
Tigers 1-0.
Lick my lips on this one. Yeah. It's been sunny all week. The weatherman said today's almost gonna be as hot as this beat. Plus the words that I speak. I got out of the shower, hit the barbershop, and got in the seat. They talking about the game from last night and placing bets on who gon' win tonight's fight. I got out of the chair, fresh to death. Look down, check my phone, cause I just got a text. My man's at the car wash, so it's gonna be on tonight. There's a party, and it's gonna be tight. I ain't gotta be told twice. Went and got me some rest, cause it's gonna be one of those nights. Can already see it. Text again, say you saw one I slept on and a best friend. When the sun's bright and the wind don't blow, you really hope that tomorrow comes slow. Yeah, I ain't got a care in the world, just got paid. Got the slick shades and the fresh fade. We gon' have a good time, everybody keep it tight. Get right, keep it moving all night. Yeah, get my dance on. Yeah, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, let's go. Check. It's almost 10, the sun's gone, but it's still hot, and my phone's been ringing non-stop. My dog pulled up in the coupe, push the button and there's air where there used to be a sunroof. Yeah, we're stunting hard, switching lanes on the highway. Get to the spot and the line's down the block. Not a problem when you flow like this. Dap the bouncer while the valet park the whips. The DJ's dropping those hits, and these chicks look like...
Welcome back to Talkin' Bout Sports. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with William Wilson, Reggie Walker, Mountaineer Mike Freer. I'm Kevin Casey. Kevin Tolbert's right here. We've got the Masters going on. Tiger Woods is on the course. He's looking good. Definitely has the night punting under control. But can he – by the way, a lot of action has gone down on Tiger Woods in Vegas. My buddy Steve Cofield out in Vegas telling me that a lot of action's going down towards Tiger Woods. I kind of like some of these younger guys. Will, like Jordan Spieth. Who do you like, Will?
The thing with the Masters is all about who's putting well on Saturday. You know, Thursday and Friday is just great. That's, you know, moving day and all this. Saturday is what matters. Who's putting well on Saturday with pin placements? You know, right now it's up in the air. Because Augusta is one of those courses so well manicured, it's so wide and open, you can spray it all over the place. But when you get on the putting green, you've got to be able to putt the ball. You got to be putting those glass. Putting at Augusta, I played Augusta twice. Playing at Augusta is like putting on this doggone cabinet, this tabletop. So who's all going to be putting Saturday? Tiger's putting really well. It all depends on if he gets in his head or he doesn't get out of his head. If he keeps enjoying the game, Tiger can be right there. If he starts getting too much into his head, becoming too technical, the old technical Tiger, he'll play himself right out of this tournament.
My thought on Tiger is this. Can he win? Yeah, he can. How can he win? I'm going to tell you. He better get the driver right. In his 18 rounds entering today, this year, he's 201st in driver accuracy, only hitting 51% of fairways off the tee. You ain't winning a Masters swinging the driver like that. Well, so if Tiger doesn't fix that, it's not going to matter how well he putts, because and we know his short game is good. We get that. But if you're consistently in trouble, eventually it's going to cost you. So I think Tiger's got to be good off the tee, and he's got a chance to really do something. That's always been the hole in his game. We know he'll putt. His putting is fairly consistent. His intermediate short game is always good. We know that. But can he get off the tee and get himself in position to use that mid-range and short game like we know he can?
Well, but the thing is, being good off the tee at Augusta is not as important. Now, this is U.S. Open. I'm all with you. U.S. Open, yeah. But at Augusta, you can kind of spray it all over the place and still get on there really well. I mean, Tiger's never driven extremely well.
To your point,
but he got to be better than 51%.
Not Augusta.
I think he's got to be at least 65, 70.
Tiger's drafted.
He's in the rough right
now. Tiger is driven, but look at the rough he's in.
That's not rough.
He's 18 feet to the rough, and he's basically almost like first cut. But see, that's what I'm saying.
Masters, for me, is the way the course is. If you played it, the veterans who played it and been successful year after year, you can always count on them making noise because they know the course so well. Vijay Singh is under par right now. Fred Couples is on the course. He's even early. It's Sandy Lyle, who won the championship in the 80s, is still on the course. He's under par early. And obviously Tiger Woods is going to be there. Phil Mickelson, these guys. I agree with you. I think it's going to be somebody, one of the young guys that comes away with this. I think Rory McIlroy is really, this is a tournament he really, they all want to win the tournament, obviously, but he's really prepared himself to try and win it this year. He's really put in the work.
The old expression is drive for show, putt for dough. And then who and I think to Will's point maybe is, you got to get out there. And I think you hang around. You're within shouting distance of the lead come Saturday, late Saturday or Sunday morning when you wake up you're in 4 or 5 of the lead, and you're Tiger Woods, and you're going up there against some of these younger guys who don't sweat you, by the way, because they don't remember you, but they still know that if your game is back even close to what it used to be, and you're still Tiger Woods, you're there on Sunday, and suddenly you're even with these guys on the 15th and 16th hole, it's going to matter.
And I don't care who you are. When you hear that roar that Tiger can get out of his gallery when he makes that crazy shot on like 13 on Sunday, all of a sudden, whoever's in front goes, wait a minute, was that Tiger?
Oh, yeah.
And they start getting it's been different lately. But the reality is that still is a factor.
Exactly. But you know who's already won the Masters? The advertisers.
Absolutely.
People are watching. Tiger's playing well. The PGA, there is no one on earth happier on the planet than the PGA Tour of America right now, because Tiger playing well. People are interested in golf again. People are going to watch golf again. They're going to watch the Masters. I was in Atlanta 2 days ago, and everyone's talking about the Masters, and they're talking about Tiger. They probably couldn't pick the next 5 guys out of a police lineup other than maybe Phil Mickelson, but they know Tiger, and they're talking about Tiger.
Every one of those golfers is making more money this weekend because Tiger Woods is there.
By the way, Mountaineer,
mark that down.
Mike, who's in the lead right now as we speak?
Is it Mark Leishman?
Who?
Mark
the guys we can't pick out of a police lineup.
No, he's playing with Tiger, I believe. He's in the group with Tiger.
Yeah, he's in his group.
Yeah, he's in Tiger's group.
Don't take time.
Vijay Singh is 2 under.
Vijay Singh, you can't miss. He's about 6'8".
2 under.
Stinson's good.
Yeah, they're all good.
If you're at Augusta, you're good.
The back 9 of Sunday is where you find out. That's where the fun begins.
Yep.
For your champion.
When you make that turn on Sunday, what you got?
No, granted, it's the Masters, and I'm talking about the Wells Fargo Championship here, which is a month from now.
Yep.
But when I used to cover that tournament, it would always be Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson. Those had the biggest galleries.
Yep.
He's not in. I don't think he's in this. He's one of your buddies, Will. John Daly. When John Daly played the Wells Fargo, John Daly had as big, if not bigger, people following him around than Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods.
Exactly, because
John Daly's over.
Yeah, because John Daly, people love John Daly. They can relate to John Daly.
John Daly's a regular guy that plays
he's a
golf.
regular guy. He's got flaws. They've seen his flaws. They've seen him deal with the alcohol, the drugs, the 85 ex-wives, all the falls from grace. They know about when he won his
He might
first
be at a
major
Hooters in Augusta, Georgia, signing autographs right now.
He could be, but they know when he won his first major, he donated all his money to these kids whose dad died when he got electrocuted. They know about this stuff. They love John Daly, and they just connect to him.
To your point about Tiger and the impact and the following he has, about 6 or 7 years ago, I had the good fortune to be able to go
Tiger's
down
one over
on a
right
Friday to the Masters. A friend of mine invited me. I got to go down, and you walk around the course. I watched Tiger. I spent a few holes watching Tiger, and it goes 5-6 deep where he is playing. And in comparison to anybody else, where maybe 2 or 3 deep when you're watching. But I mean, it's a different animal when you're talking about Tiger and the people that are following him. It literally goes 6-7 deep when you try to get a peek.
Now, Tiger's the only person relevant. Let's just be real. We're gonna be real about this.
Is he going to be at Wells Fargo, Will?
Who knows? But with Tiger, you just really don't know.
He's won it here.
If he's playing well, I think he will. But it all depends on how he's playing and how his body's holding up. But the thing with Tiger, everyone likes to say, well, Jordan Spieth will be the next, Rory's going to be the next guy. To the average golfer, or to the average person that's not a golfer, Tiger Woods is the only thing that's different. Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, Justin, all these guys, to the average guy, is another white kid playing golf. So when he plays well, there's nothing that draws them to them. Tiger drew the people to the game because he's a black guy playing a game they never seen him do, and he dominated. So you got to be both. But if you're people have seen white guys dominate golf, Arnold, Jack, Gary Player, all these guys forever. It's nothing new to them. And with millennials and Gen Zs, if you're not something exciting and just going to motivate them, they don't care. Tiger will get people watching, get butts in his seats and eyes on your TV screen.
I think Will's on it because, when Tiger Woods was dominant, and he was dominant for many years until some night putting and some knee and back issues sidelined him. But what he pointed out about the advertisers winning, the ratings are going to be through the roof. More people are going to watch it, so more people are going to be going to some of the local courses. More people are going to be playing And Tiger Woods is still the guy who drives the needle. And he's still going to be out there, and he's going to cause more people to play. And I like what he's doing. He's arguably either the greatest or second greatest golfer based on majors, if you ask certain people.
I think the other thing with Tiger Woods, and I'll say it, it's a personality concept, right? When people talk about the NFL right now, one of the complaints is it's the no fun league. There's no, they want them to just score a touchdown and drop the ball and be quiet and all. Mm-hmm. Tiger started fist pumping. Tiger started reacting to galleries. Because in the past it was you tip your cap when you make a big putt and kind of move on.
Yeah.
That personality, that emotion, that's people draw to that, and that's one of the things that Tiger added to the game of golf, at least from my standpoint, that I noticed.
He plays
that
golf like
took
regular
it to
guys
another
when
level.
They're playing out on the local muni, and he's 4 back. He's 1 over. The leader is 3 under, so he's 4 back right now, getting ready to hit the back 9 on opening day.
Oh yeah, but Tiger. Another thing Tiger also did though, but Tiger, even from a fashion standpoint. Tiger was the first one to get people really big into working out. Even though Gary Player was known for being the most fit guy in golf forever.
And Vijay Singh's been huge for years.
But Tiger, Tiger came in with the schmediums on, so he looked like his arms looked ripped walking down the sideline. You always wonder what he's going to wear that day. You knew he was going to wear red on Sunday, but what type of red? Tiger looked fashionable. He was in shape. Tiger transcended golf the same way Jordan transcended basketball in a lot of ways, from not just making putts, but the impact. Guys made money. Tiger Woods is singly responsible for the tournament at Pikes Peak, where they played a modified stable system in Colorado shutting down. Because when Tiger was at his prime, it cost so much to be the title sponsor of a PGA event, and Tiger never went to Pikes Peak because he didn't like playing a modified stable. He didn't like the stable system, so he would never go. And the people there, the big guys, never showed up, so they couldn't afford. They're like, why am I going to spend $6 or $8 million a year to sponsor a tournament where the big guys aren't going to come, and I'm not going to realize my money back out of it? So the marketers never came, and that tournament shut down for that very reason. That's how important Tiger was to the game of golf.
All right,
don't judge, but real quick, don't judge Tiger if he ends up 73 or 74 or even at even par 72. His first rounds traditionally at Masters are his worst.
All you got to do is hang around, and like Curtis Strange had said, hang around par the first day, maybe second day. Just be within a few shots of the lead on Sunday morning, and he's going to cause a stir. But we're not done yet. We've got some more NBA discussion. The Hornets are even in the news. We've got the Hornets and much, much more right here on Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
We're going to go a full timeout. All I got to say is it football season yet?
This stuff is too good to pass up.
There's so many things that have to go right in a no-hitter. A huge game changer. I would have won the Powerball like 6 times.
Kevin Casey here, and this is your podcast, Talking About Sports, the Carolina's own sports talk show. Welcome back to Talking About Sports. Kevin Casey along with Mountaineer Mike Freer, Reggie Walker, William Wilson. Mountaineer Mike, you're close to the Charlotte Hornets. Apparently the Hornets, gosh knows they need one. A new GM could be in the works as we speak. Mitch Kupchak, who won titles with Jerry West, with the Lakers, and then a couple without him. He's Michael Jordan's buddy, former Tar Heel player, and I think a notable, maybe not the best, but a notable GM, a personnel man. He's reportedly very close to agreeing to be the new GM of the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, he's going to run the show, it sounds like. He's going to be president of basketball operations and general manager, and it's been rumored for weeks that he was really the front runner, and it's good for Charlotte. He's going to be a good person to put next to this franchise. He's got a heck of a lot of work to do. He's got a big decision coming up in the offseason with what to do with Kemba.
Pay him.
It's going to have all his Hornets fans really.
Is Kupchak going to have final say, or is he going to consult with Buzz Peterson? And obviously Michael Jordan signs the checks. He has to have final say. But, I mean, is Kupchak going to have autonomy to run the team the way he sees fit?
I mean, you would think he would, given his title and whatever his salary. If you're going to come here, you got to do things your way. And I would hope that he would have the final say. And obviously, like you said, Michael Jordan, who signed the checks, will have the final say. I would think he would want, you bring along somebody like Mitch Kupchak, the president, everything that's gone to this point for the Hornets in the front office has not worked out. So it's about time. Let me get an experienced GM and let me have him make the decisions that he has to make, which I think begin and end with Kemba.
I think that's probably good. All depends on where they are money wise. Because if you're cap loaded, you don't have any room to play with. You can bring Jesus in here, and you still need room to bring guys in here, or some way to dump some of the salary. And I thought when they got rid of Gerald Wallace and all those guys before the dump salary, they were off to a good start. Then they just somehow ended up right back in another salary cap mess. I'm not sure who all they got into with it, but they're right back there again. So they need somebody to figure out how to work these numbers out.
Well, that's the world of the NBA. To your point, if you look at all the best teams in the league, they're capped out. They can't do anything. They're trying to manipulate this. I mean, people look at that Cleveland trade and they're like, oh, it's such a great trade for Cleveland. They're still, if let's just say they don't win this year, they're going to be looking around saying, how do we dump some of this salary? How do we move some of these pieces to get better? Because they're still locked up cap-wise. So the whole key is being able to create cap space. Good luck doing that. And being able to, and this is the hard part, you have to be able, as a GM in whatever city you're in, to deal with the criticism and sometimes just don't make a move because you don't want to overpay the wrong person.
Yeah.
And good GMs have done that. If you look at the Lakers, there were guys that they could have paid this previous offseason. They didn't because they want the space for next year. And if they don't get Paul George and whoever the other, right, LeBron James, all these names are getting floated out there. But if they don't get their two big-time free agents again, you think they're going to pay somebody less than that a max contract and lock that cap space up? Hell no. They're going to wait another year and see can't they get the next big free agent. Because at the end of the day, you win in the NBA by trades and free agency. People can say draft all you want. The draft don't matter because you can go draft a great player. And when his rookie deal is up, if he don't want to stay there, he's going to tell you, you better trade me to where I want to go because I ain't signing, because I'm not staying here. So trade me now.
Here's the thing with the Hornets.
Ask Chris Paul. He just did it to the
Clippers.
To the Clippers.
The Hornets are not a free agent destination. The Charlotte, they're just not compared to other.
Then they got to do it with trades.
They got to do it with trades, and they've done it in the past with trades. They got Batum, they got Dwight Howard. They do those via trades.
1 out of 2 is not bad there.
Well, Batum got them to the playoffs, and here I got a feeling that the Hornets, when Kupchak comes in here, his number one priority is they're just going to blow this thing up, and I think they're going to. I don't know if Steve Clifford will be back. I don't know if Kemba will be back, and if I'm Kemba Walker, I don't know if I want to be back, and he's going to try and figure out a way. Nick Batum, 3 more years at $77 million.
Wow.
Marvin Williams, 2 more years at $29 million. MKG, 2 more years at $26 million. And Cody Zeller, 3 more years at $43 million.
No wonder Rich Joe was fired.
How in the world are you going to get better if you can't get rid of those guys? You can get rid of Kemba Walker and try and blow it up, and that's fine. But how are you going to get any better if you can't get rid of some of those deals?
Every good team in the NBA has an albatross contract. Every single one of them. Every single one of them has an albatross contract. The Cleveland. The food's here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Come on in.
This is not an albatross.
This is not an albatross. I'll get back to the albatross contract in a second. We got the wings. Crab cakes down here.
Oh, we got crab cakes.
Crab cake. That pretzel can get a beer cheese.
We got a speedy pizza coming. I hope. Right,
he always trying to get extra. Why are you always trying to get extra, man? Take what they give you.
You're getting part of it. We're spreading the wealth, man.
I know. But if you look at Cleveland, they got an albatross contract in Tristan Thompson. You look at, there's another one. There's a speedy.
Oh, even better.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right on.
You can go all the way down the line with all of the best teams in the league, and there are albatross contracts, with the exception of probably Golden State. But at the same time, you look at Golden State and you go, Andre Iguodala's making $17 million a year and he comes off the bench. That's a lot of money.
He plays good defense.
J.R. Smith wouldn't do that. That's the problem with Cleveland. But Miami, now they're sitting there saying, oh, should we have paid Hassan Whiteside? Everybody wanted to keep him. When a guy has a great year, they always play great in contract years. And then what do they say? I'm a max player. If not, you're going to lose him.
Here's the problem. My problem with the whole situation, the big story now is, well, are they going to trade Kemba Walker because he's your most valuable asset? Well, yeah, he's your most valuable asset. He's only making $12 million a year. He's the 6th highest paid player on the team, which is absurd. Everybody knows that.
But he's going to ask for a max contract.
All right.
But what are you if you don't get rid of the other deals, some of those other deals, what is the point of getting rid of Kemba Walker?
You got to take some of our trash. If you want our best guy, you got to take some of our trash with you.
That's it. Now maybe they can do that.
Let's hope.
So be it.
A couple other notes around the league. First, we told you in a previous segment, Kyrie Irving out for the year, out for the playoffs. His knee, and now that I think the Celtics, I saw him last night against Toronto. Toronto looks like a complete ball club right now.
That was a statement game.
It absolutely was a statement. They're going to be number one seed in the East. I don't see anybody beating them in the East. I think the finals are going to have Toronto and somebody, and probably Houston in them. And how about this incident with Reggie? Maybe you and Will could talk about it, because we kind of talk about it every week about this LeBron James and Nick Saban in the barber shop. They think this is
Man,
LeBron
listen.
James has this little gimmick where they talk about, and with athletes
In the
And now
barbershop.
Nick Saban wants to do some kind of deal, and he says he didn't know anything about it.
Listen, man, who cares? At the end of the day, people have been filming stuff in barbershops for years. My barber, shout out to the boys down at Blaze. I'll see you all in a few hours. We could do our show in the barbershop. So what?
Exactly.
We ain't violating no laws.
Yeah, I just left the barbershop.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
Everybody's been shooting stuff.
Let's go
let me
down
ask
to one
you
of
this.
you guys'
Let me ask you
barbershops.
this.
Sponsor this deal.
Well, call Eddie Murphy from Coming to America and ask him about shooting in the barbershop, because those were some of the best scenes in that movie was in the barbershop.
Exactly.
So if LeBron want to talk about he owned the rights to having a conversation in a barbershop, sue me too then.
Yeah, or look at the movie Barbershop.
LeBron
That's
James
what I'm saying.
can't see my buddies
1,
at
2,
Goodwill
and
Games.
3.
That's all I can tell you.
Please.
The most entertaining conversations. The most entertaining conversations you will ever hear
Or in the
about
barbershop.
anything in life is at the barbershop.
Especially in the hood barbershop.
Exactly, because it's real, it's unfiltered. Now you got to do it either online or on HBO or something
HBO,
like
yeah,
this.
yeah,
You
gonna
can't have it
get
on the
gotta be
regular
on
network
satellite.
television.
This has gotta
But
be one
unless
of
you got a
the
dump
dumbest
button.
Controversies.
Huh?
This has got to be one of the dumbest controversies I've ever come across. And
I can't believe we're talking
LeBron
about
James
it.
is threatening legal action, but it does nothing else except get more people to watch both of their shows.
That's exactly. It's a publicity stunt.
that's fine.
LeBron James has turned into the black Donald Trump. He really is. Every time I turn around, he's got another stupid conversation we're having about something he said or something he's done. At some point, LeBron I don't mean shut up and play as in like Laura Ingraham meant. But sometimes, dude, quit being a diva. Just play basketball, run your businesses, do your thing. But everything, you gonna sue somebody because he wants to have a TV show in a barbershop? I mean, just play basketball. Worry about the season. This lets you know just how bad sports are right now. That this is actually a real conversation that we're actually having during, just coming off of the NCAA tournament.
Going into the playoffs,
Masters weekend, we're going to
Masters.
playoffs. We're talking about LeBron James and Nick Saban in a barbershop
by the way,
conversation.
real
That's
quick,
how ridiculous
you
this
mentioned
is.
about Kyrie Irving. If Kyrie Irving was healthy, I had said this, and
I think Boston's team would be with a healthy Kyrie.
I had Boston. Not only we've done this, I've said it on the show. Not only getting out of the East, but challenging the Warriors.
I don't think they're going to get
win it
there.
all. Now,
let me tell you something.
If the queen had balls, she'd be king. But he ain't here now, so you got to deal with what we got.
I can't wait. And you guys know I don't look ahead much. I can't wait to see the Celtics in 2018, 2019, when Hayward's healthy and Tatum's had another year, and Jaylen Brown
right.
and Kyrie.
If they're all there.
Oh, my goodness. They'll be all there because Tatum and Brown have rookie contracts. It's great.
Without a healthy Kawhi Leonard, the Spurs could have been there. Without that Zaza Pacheep shot last year, the Spurs would have been a title last year, and they're still not healthy right now. Kawhi Leonard could be on the move. He could be going to L.A. for Ingram and Kuzma and some picks. And what's this guy, Cook? Is that the guy? Who's that guy?
I can't believe Kawhi Leonard's still in the
lit up,
league. He's been in the league
whoever
like
last
50
night.
years.
Boston could make a
Feels
trade
right.
for Kyrie Irving, so you never know.
Great right away.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, when you get done with your agenda over there, we can wrap this segment up.
No, I'm just telling you, things could change.
The Celtics are the way. If you're running a franchise these days, that's the model to run it these days. They're in, like you said, they're in position for years down the road.
They are.
Now or after the break.
Now, I'll tell you what, in 2 years, though, cap-wise, they're going to have to make some decisions.
All right. Lots of decisions coming up, but right now we're going to prepare for our final thoughts. Stay right here on Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
Fight game.
We're talking about sports on
We're talking about sports at ADSN. I don't know how to say that.
We're talking about
We're talking about sports in, oh God, I forgot.
ADSN.
What is it?
ADSN.
ADSN, okay.
We're talking about sports.
Talking about sports.
We're talking about sports.
Talking sports. Talking about sports. We're talking about sports on ADSN.
Talking about sports on ADSN.
All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Kevin Tolbert running the show, William Wilson, Mountaineer Mike Freer, Reggie Walker. Guys, time for final thoughts. Let's start down the line. Will, what do you have?
Well, we are in NASCAR country, so I think we should talk a little NASCAR.
Thank you.
The boys were off last week, and they're in Texas this weekend, one of my favorite tracks, one of the fastest tracks on the tour. It's a tri-oval, so it's going to be really fast. They're fast going into 1, and they're fast coming out of 4. So I'm looking forward to this, getting back some good NASCAR racing. And I'm hoping my boy Kurt Busch can do something. And I may even order some more of these Wilson Walker wings to eat at the house this weekend.
All right, right on.
I'm going to go boxing, man. Over the weekend, we saw Anthony Joshua dispatch of Joseph Parker, if you will. Wins that fight, still undefeated. He's now got 3 of the 4 heavyweight titles. The only other title is being held by Deontay Wilder out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The reality is this. After what just happened, we know of in that fight and what Wilder did last month in beating Ortiz, still undefeated. Joshua still undefeated. Those are the 2 preeminent heavyweights that people know their names right now. What we just saw with the middleweight fight between Canelo Alvarez, who failed the drug test twice, he says it was meat contamination. The Nevada State Athletic Commission doesn't seem to be buying it. He has pulled out of that fight now because his suspension is probably going to last longer. If this Wilder-Joshua fight doesn't happen, I'm a big boxing fan. Some people have been saying for a while that boxing is dead. I'll put it to you this way. If Wilder and Joshua don't fight this fall, boxing is officially dead. You cannot miss out on those 2 big fights. 2 big fights in the fall, in one which would have been a month from today, and the other one in the fall of this year. You can't miss the 2 biggest fights that you could possibly have in the same year and your sport survive. Boxing, get it together, make that fight happen.
My final thought, we touched on it earlier in the show about the women's basketball tournament. I want to go back to that. I hope people who are basketball fans realize what kind of Final Four you just saw out in Columbus. It was easily the greatest Final Four in the history of the women's game, and it should be considered one of the all-time Final Fours. You had 2 semifinal games go to overtime.
Yeah.
You had UConn losing for the 2nd straight year after a 36-0 start. Can you believe this? They are 183-2 in their last 185 games.
It's insane.
They've lost twice in the Final Four. You had a Notre Dame team that was down 15 in the second half of the title game come back and win. The greatest comeback in the title game in the history of the women's game. It's an amazing period right now because we thought for the longest time UConn was too good. We were debating whether or not it's good for basketball, good for the sport to have UConn so dominant, and then you look up and they haven't won in 3 years. So this was a great Final Four, maybe the greatest ever for the women's game. I think it was, and I just hope fans who like basketball pay a little more attention to the women's game.
And Kev, before you get going, I want to make a point to your point on the women's tournament. I thought, and I think the men's tournament may need to look at this as well, playing that game at 6 p.m. on Sunday for their national championship game. You can say what you want about TV ratings. 6 o'clock on a Sunday is a good time. Everybody's winding down. They can get in front of the TV. 9:20 on a Monday night is just tough. And I get it. You're worried about the West Coast, too. I get all that. 9:20 is tough for people that have to get up the next morning. You're talking about Villanova and Michigan, both fan bases that are in Eastern time zone. That game started at 9:20. That is late.
All right, women's game and basketball. They're even going to have a women's golf tournament at Augusta. So there's all for that. Now, Anthony Joshua, you mentioned him. Where are you going to fight? In front of 80,000 in Cardiff, Wales at a big stadium, or in front of 10,000 at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn? I think that's or 80,000 in front of Wembley Stadium crowd. I think you're going to have a sellout in England or in Wales. And that's where it's going to be, and it's going to be in some warm weather, maybe in September or October. So let's hope we can get that.
100,000 in Jerry World. I'll go there.
This Saturday, 2 o'clock bell time, I'll be making a rare professional wrestling appearance at the benefit for Willie Clay, the Willie Clay Memorial Club. Big, super spectacular card of pro wrestling at 2 p.m. That's going to be in Concord at the Eastwood Baptist Church. We're going to have a super spectacular card. I'm going to be there. I'm making a rare appearance. A whole list of notable names are going to be there. So, and Kevin Tolbert's going to be there. So maybe the whole ADSN crew can show up. It's going to be a great day of professional wrestling. That's 2 p.m. bell time. and it's going to be a great day, and we're going to support you because we never forget you. Wild Thing Willie Clay. So with that in mind, thank you for watching another great edition of Talking About Sports. For Kevin Tolbert, William Wilson, Reggie Walker, Mountaineer Mike Freer, I'm Kevin Casey. So long for now.